Hello and good evening. My name is Mark Petman. I'm the Executive Director of the CPC Women's Health Resource. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is an opportunity for us to present Hello and good evening. My name is Mark Pettman. I'm the Executive Director of the CPC Women's Health Resource. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is an opportunity for us to present the things that are going on with the CPC, to talk about what has transpired in the last year, to give you a bit of an update. And I know that this has been a crazy year in a lot of ways, and even our ability to communicate what we normally do through our benefit is different this year by virtue of the video as opposed to being live. But we're making the most of the time and doing what we can to communicate what we need to communicate in the most effective way. So thank you for being here and joining in whatever time frame that's working for you. We hope that this video is going to be helpful in a number of different ways, and this is just a small sampling of the many things that go on in the ministry on a regular basis. So you'll hear stories and testimonies of people who have been affected by what we do, and we'll give you some statistical pieces of information in terms of the number of lives that we've had an impact on, and the number of volunteer hours, and the number of items that we've been able to give away this past year. And so we hope that this is just an informal way of working through to keep you informed. So again, thank you. It would be helpful for all of us to be reminded of the mission of what we are about. Whenever we're making decisions administratively and practically, we want to do that consistent with what it is we're about. So I thought it would be helpful to at least identify that. We are a Christian organization. We're a Christian social service agency that exists to share the gospel of Christ and to provide assistance, free assistance for unplanned pregnancies, to help to heal and restore those who have experienced abortion and are dealing with post-abortion related issues. We test individuals, men and women, for STIs, STDs, and we additionally help advocate an SRA, or a sexual risk avoidance message, to younger people to communicate the wisdom of making choices today. Many consequences that would, and we do that through an educational division of what it is we do. Let me just give you a few statistical pieces that may be helpful to sort of frame what we've been able to accomplish in this past year. Last year we had nearly 4,800 visits to all of our centers, the 4 centers respectively. We've had over 5,500 phone calls coming to us. We've had 139 births this past year. We've had 14 people make decisions to put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ this past year. We've had almost 4,000 volunteer hours. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without many volunteers, so we're very, very grateful for their willingness to help. And we've given nearly 81,000 items away to individuals. 81,000 items includes diapers, formula, cribs, bigger ticket items like cribs and car seats, and smaller items like diapers, important items for sure. And all of those things together come up with that number. And so we're very, very grateful for all the things that the Lord has been able to allow us to accomplish in this past year.
Well, like most people, I heard about it from acquaintances. And I had these lady friends. Mindy Schaffner was one of them, Charlotte Lotz and Kathy Andre. And they were the 3 ladies that I think Charlotte came up with the idea for what was then called a crisis pregnancy center, and asked me to come, and I went to the first training. Just really like the idea of them planning this to assist and encourage women who were in a difficult situation.
How did I hear about CPC? I guess initially it was just through the newsletters that are sent out occasionally. And I read those and thought, that's something I want to do when I retire.
I've heard about many. The church that I attended was very active with CPC volunteers. And I remember many years ago when my children were still young, I had a couple of ladies in the church that just kept, I don't know what the word is, but asking me if I wouldn't want to help here. And I said, I would love to, but I can't right now because I'm really busy with my 3 children. So when our youngest daughter was a senior in high school, I started volunteering. So it's been many years ago.
Well, I like the thought of advocating for and encouraging women in crisis. That really intrigued me. And when I heard about this new venture, to walk alongside women experiencing despair, anxiety, and uncertainty, and yeah, shame, I couldn't stop thinking about it because I knew that I had experienced all those things in my life at that time.
I decided to volunteer so I could take a stand against the horrors of abortion and take a stand for the joys of being a parent. Being a parent has been probably the most rewarding thing. Sure, lots of people get to experience that as well.
Well, I'm a people person, and I love I love helping people and listening to people and sharing people. And I feel like I've been quite blessed in my own upbringing. I was very fortunate. I was raised by godly mom and dad, and my parents were missionaries. So I have seen a lot of situations similar to what we see here with their ministry over the years. And it's just always a blessing to be able to share and to pour into the lives of other people, and mostly that, often just need you to listen or to encourage them. So I wasn't, hesitant in knowing this would be something that God would, have me do and be a blessing, hopefully, to someone else.
Well, when moms and dads see the heartbeat, and more importantly, hear the heartbeat, it becomes real. And when the nurse measures the head and the torso and the thigh bone and gets the date, like the due date, it gets very deeply quiet when they're watching that image on the screen. And many people, many women come in anxious, scared, even angry or frustrated. But when they see that, they go away determined with that picture of that baby in their pocket. Go away determined to do pretty much whatever it takes to give life.
I know it's just encouraging to walk the whole journey with them. I guess that's kind of been my favorite thing. Is there's been several that I've worked with for 25 weeks or more, and you can see a vast difference from when they first come in. And of course, it depends a lot of times if it's their first child or their third child, or where they are in their relationship with whether they're single, married. There's just a lot of variables there. So you just kind of walk through life with them, and wherever they're at, try to encourage them. Many of them come from some pretty tough home lives, and they really just need that. Often just somebody to talk and listen and share, and not be there to judge them, but to listen to them and to try to walk the life with them. And so there's been a number of them, and I guess I just love when I'm able to keep on working with the same one, and then see the little one in the end. And sometimes I wish I could look and see some that I've helped in the past, because I've probably been doing this over 10 years, and it's like, I wonder where they're at now or what they're doing, because sometimes we only see them for, a few times after the baby comes, at least, unless you happen to bump into them at the grocery store or somewhere, which is always fun.
Well, first of all, it starts with a really generous community who bring in used items, also bless us with new stuff to give. And we couldn't do any of it without those generous donors. So parents can come in after the baby's born, and the first time they come in and bring the baby and introduce us to them, and we get to meet the new one, they get a layette, which is full of all kinds of outfits for the baby, all kinds of baby items, some toys, bottles, Desitin, baby shampoo, all that kind of stuff. But the cool thing is, it's wrapped in this handmade quilt. So ladies, thank you so much, because you know when you see that face how loved they feel when they see that homemade quilt wrapped around all those baby items. And they get 60 diapers. From that point on, as they come in and do classes, parenting classes and so forth, they earn points. They can earn a crib for 10 classes. They can earn a car seat for 5 classes, and that's usually done before the baby's born. And then they can purchase new things. They can purchase diapers or wipes or even new clothes. But the other cool thing is lots of used things are given, even pack and plays and strollers and baby bouncers and swings and all kinds of things. And all those are given out free of charge for anyone who needs them, just as we get them. So thank you for all those, our donors. But also lots of beautiful new used clothes. And so once a month, parents can come in and they can like get the next size larger, get a set of clothes and sleepers and blankets and all kinds of things. So we are really blessed. And so we get to bless others.
Well, I think they all enjoy anything that's free, like we probably all do, you know. And so some of them, most of them probably come with pretty tight situations financially. So I think that anything we can offer them, and they do often say that our used clothing is very, very good. I mean, it's like new. I just had one last week say, man, your clothes are so much better than garage sale things. So that's, you know, fun to be able to share with them. And so we're very appreciative of all the people that have given, you know, their things for us to be able to share that with other people.
Well, absolutely. Please volunteer. I guess what I would ask you is this. Do you want to grow in your trust of God? Do you want to be stretched in your ability to listen to and encourage someone along their journey? Yes, come. Take the training. We're working really hard to get it online and make it easy for you. And then come in and be mentored. Participate with one of the peer advocates that's been here. Sit in on a class with our, you know, when the nurses are doing it. Be in on ultrasounds. Work in the materials room. Come help with the newsletter. There's lots and lots of things to do. So I guess what I want to tell you is you will receive more than you ever give. And my mom had a saying, you can't outgive God. So thanks, Mom.
How did I hear about the Community Pregnancy Center? I remember I was actually driving by and saw your sign out front and seen that you guys offered free pregnancy testing. And it was around the time when I found out I was pregnant. So that's when I started coming and attending your classes that you have. So.
I heard about CPC just driving by, going back and forth between Delta, where I live, and Los Leon.
So I worked in the area originally, and I had a coworker that mentioned a program they had participated in, and I would drive by and see this sign, and I decided to drive in the one day when I was pregnant and see what it was about and meet everybody, and had a really good reception and went from there.
How have the services helped me at CPC? Well, I think what's really helped me is I had such a big gap in my children, so it was really nice to have refresher classes to help me kind of remember what it was like to have a baby again. And it's also really helped me with breastfeeding and raising a family with another child as well too. And so the classes have really helped me kind of help bond with my daughter more now that I have 2 I have at home now. So
They have helped me know what to expect during the pregnancy, to know some milestones with this little guy. And I've also, it's nice to have someone to confide in besides my husband, someone to talk to that's been through it before.
The services here at the center have been really helpful on a practical level, but also to enjoy. I enjoyed them when I was pregnant and just learned a lot of things about child development and things like that. And it was also practical, just with different budgetary restraints at different times to be able to earn things, but just spend some time and not have to, I guess, have a lot of cost. So it's just really beneficial for my family and me. And then since my son has been born, we've enjoyed coming together. As a stay-at-home mom, we just look forward to the outing, and more, we just really actually enjoy the outing every week and learning things and continuing to earn things at the same time.
I would definitely recommend it to other people because it's been a great resource for me. It's really been a great outlet to get information, get the things that I need, and just have the support that I really need.
Yes, I would definitely recommend it. I actually have. I've recommended a couple people come to the CPC just because it's a nice, neutral environment where people don't judge you and you can ask any questions you have.
I would definitely recommend the CPC to friends and family, whether it's because maybe they're struggling financially and could use a little help, through job losses or all the things that can happen right now. I think it's a practical way to, I guess, spend a little time to earn some things again, and also there's a lot to be learned and something that's enjoyable in just a very friendly environment.
I help in the operations of our 2 STI clinics, one here in Bryan and the other in Defiance. Other staff I work with is our nurse practitioner, Bobby Brown, as well as another LPN, Carissa Diller. We also started testing all of our clients who do come in with a positive pregnancy test, if they so desire. These women will wait several weeks to get in to see their OB doctors, giving an STI time to both harm the mom as well as their unborn child. In our first month alone, we had a woman who tested positive for chlamydia. Her circumstances, well, you could tell God had his hand that moved in that situation. Our goal and desire is to bring an awareness to our clients to aid in not only their physical health, but also their spiritual health. Many, many times, these clients haven't even given much thought to their actions or where those actions might lead them. Everyone is doing it, I hear a lot. When asked what you would do if you became pregnant, many said, I never gave it much thought. Many girls tell me they really don't know why they're doing it. To make him happy, I guess. They admit they don't really like it. We try to really pour into these clients and try to bring the reality of their actions to the forefront of their minds. What if you get pregnant? What if you get an STI that you can't get rid of? I have yet to have a client tell me that they actually thought about either of those things happening. And we talk about their spiritual health. Many times they have never heard of God's promises for them. They think it's about a bunch of rules and have either never heard or chosen to ignore what they have heard because, sadly, they don't know that He wants a relationship with them to guide them and love them through their trials in their life. First, we delve into what's going on in their life, what brings them there, and what challenges that they have that's brought them there, and maybe some solutions to get them out of the trials that they've come across. Well, yeah, physically, but then when they leave here, we want them to safeguard their physical health, but more importantly, their spiritual health. I just go right to it and ask them if they're a believer in the Lord. And then sometimes they tell me, nope, don't want to hear about it. Sometimes we have to give information that's difficult to hear, but we do it anyways. We're doing God's work. For me personally, sometimes my schedule is booked so tightly that I don't know how we're going to get it all done. And I see His hand work every single time. Every single time. Somebody will no-show or something like that will happen. So I've had that happen too, where we've had to really pour into a client. And I really didn't have the time because of my schedule, but the next client wouldn't show up. And He just opened up that time. And we were able to counsel with that client. So we see a lot of abuse. So it's not really their fault. So that's heart-wrenching. We pray with them. Try to give them some guidance. Sometimes we'll try to give them some avenues outside of here, some counseling facilities, things like that. I was not a Christian. the beginning of my life, and was 17 and pregnant. So it's easy to relate to them, how you can kind of get off course with your life. And look at me now, you know, I'm a nurse. I work in a Christian-based facility, and I have Christ in my life. That's amazing to me. So, yeah, we give them that kind of hope. Wearing a mask is difficult to relate to people sometimes. They can't see me smile. Sometimes it's hard to cry with a mask. We used to hug our clients. We can't do that anymore. So that's been hard.
The CPC is a ministry to help people in a given situation. Granted, in most situations, there are an unwanted series of events that have occurred that have placed them in a spot where they now have to make some hard decisions and questions in terms of what do I do next. So what our goal and objective is to help them think wisely about whatever decisions that they have in a way that puts them in the best possible position. So recognizing where they're at and the realness of the challenges and the hardships that they're facing, but how can we come alongside of them and guide them in their thinking so that it puts them in a much better situation. So whether that's an unplanned pregnancy situation, whether that's somebody who's coming in and being tested for an STI, or whether it's just having a conversation about their sexual activity, sometimes those can be challenging conversations and they can be difficult in terms of really where you go. But in all of those situations, we want to leverage, again, what is a series of challenging situations, but look at that from a redemptive perspective. Or how can God use the circumstances to be used in a way to bring about something very different, and maybe something different that they hadn't even thought of. In many cases, when we're having a spiritual conversation with someone, it's set against the backdrop of these challenging circumstances and choices that they've made. We're not intended to be judgmental in terms of those decisions, but how can we help them think about how maybe these have led to a point where they can begin to think about some other things that maybe aren't high on their radar, but they're things that ought to be thought about and ought to be considered, such that they can have an outcome that would be not only favorable, but redemptive in the true sense of a biblical framework. So we want to leverage each of those in a way where we can say, how can we come alongside of you? How can we point you to the facts? How can we point you to the text of Scripture in many cases? And how can we help you think about the relationship with the living God, even in light of the challenges you're facing physically, or again with another life in terms of the pregnancy? One of the things that I continue to be amazed with is how God will show up in very unexpected ways. We pray for that regularly. We ask for the Lord to open doors, to provide circumstances where we can come in and speak truth in love. And we continue to see how He brings about circumstances and situations and people to the centers in a way where we can point them again to the truth of what God has to say. And in many ways, I oftentimes think of people who are looking to connect with some ministry opportunity, and if they're looking for some ministry where there's a high degree of fruitfulness, I admittedly biased, but I see so much fruit coming from what God is doing in a way that's just overwhelming in many cases. When we have someone coming in and they are resolved in their mind when they walk through the door that they're terminating this pregnancy, this is not what they had wanted, this is not helping them to achieve their goals, and they're averse to anything that would otherwise point them in the right direction. And in a conversation and through an ultrasound and through lovingly working through the challenging situations and circumstances in a way to address each of them in a winsome way, they begin to view this from a very different perspective. And at the end of the day, if they come in very strongly abortion-minded, but through those conversations and through those images, they can come to the point where they're very much pro-life in their choosing life, that's just a glorious thing in so many ways. And we have the privilege of seeing that over and over and over again. And so the fruit that coming from the ministry is abundant. And I oftentimes want to encourage people to, if they're thinking about some ministry opportunity, there's tremendous blessings in many ways. We're not the only sort of ministry for sure, but it certainly bears out with much fruit, and we are very pleased with what God is continuing to do.
Recently, I've had the privilege of seeing our Project Respecter presenters in action. I've been able to see them in the classroom, and that has been amazing. I've seen the passion that they have not only for the sexual risk avoidance message, but also the passion they have for connecting with our students, engaging them in deep and meaningful conversations. Our staff has provided up-to-date facts and solid information, enabling the students to make their own choices, empowering them to make good choices of character. I've also had the privilege of hearing the stories of impact that these conversations have had. For example, one of our presenters was in the JDC, Juvenile Detention Center, and they were having a conversation about fatherhood. And one young man just kind of went off, and he was expressing how he had total freedom to have sex with any girl he wanted to. And he also expressed he had felt zero responsibility toward that. You know, what happens if you get a girl pregnant? Oh, not my problem at all. So the conversation continued, and our presenter began to ask them about their relationship with their father. And once again, the student went off and just said, oh, my dad's never around. He doesn't care, he doesn't support us. And the student had nothing good to say about their father. After a moment of quiet, the question was posed. Is this the kind of father that you would like to be? The young man's face dropped. His demeanor changed, and he gave this question some serious thought. After a moment, his eyes raised, and he said, "No, ma'am. That is not the kind of father I would like to be." This is the kind of story we like to hear, stories in which students hear the message of sexual risk avoidance, and they take it to heart, and they begin to make life-changing choices for themselves. In another classroom, our presenter was talking to the students about pornography and the dangers of pornography and how that changes your mind and affects our relationships. And one student after class, he pushed back against that. He didn't buy that. He wasn't believing that one bit. And as they began to talk, the student shared that he really didn't think he would ever have a good, healthy relationship. His chance of having a lifetime partner seemed next to nothing for him. No chance at all. So for him, pornography was his only hope. As the conversation continued, so the student was left with this challenge. Could it be that pornography is the very thing that is holding you back, keeping you from a healthy relationship? The student was left with much to think about. In another classroom, a student was quite obviously impacted by the message. And afterward, the conversation that took place, in that conversation, they expressed that if only my parents had heard this message. Yeah, I think their lives would have been much different if they had waited to become sexually active, if they had waited until they're old enough to have kids. The student was feeling like their life was now in total disarray, and they had no hope for their future. Our presenter was there to remind them that their story doesn't have to be your story. You have the power to choose. You have the power to write your own story. And the student began to look up and look at life more hopefully because Project Respect was there. This is good work. I believe this is God's work. And I am thankful that Project Respect is there, able to have these life-changing conversations with the youth of our community.
I liked Project Respect coming into our classroom because I think it was just like these messages that we've heard different times from like our parents, but it was being reinforced from different people. So it wasn't just one thing that our parents told us, but that's strongly encouraged by a lot of different people at the same time.
One thing I learned when Project Respect came in was how sexually involved people are in high school. I just didn't know that before, and it kind of helps me to keep my head straight and stay on the path I want to stay on.
I think that Project Respect has helped initiate many goals into my life, such as I want to date for the right reasons, I want to be committed, I don't want to mess around with all the other garbage, I just want to be focused, and I want to go to the end goal, which is eventually marriage.
I liked Project Respect coming into my classroom because it was more hands-on and the teachers really interacted with you and gave you a good understanding of what they were trying to teach you.
My life changed when Project Respect came because I was really encouraged to talk to my parents about things that I wouldn't normally talk to them about. I think it's really important for kids my age to hear the abstinence message because, as for most things, when you hear them multiple times, you're more likely to do them, and it's really important with a topic like this.
The reality for this ministry to continue to function, it does require that we have a number of people who come alongside of us. And I'm oftentimes asked, what could someone do to help? And let me just sort of lay out three particular things that we communicate regularly on ways to help us. First of all, we recognize that without the hand of God working, we're just not going to have a degree of effectiveness. So we need prayer from individuals who would say, we would love to be praying for you. We'd like to lift you up in that sort of way and to do that on a regular basis. And so we're very, very thankful for that. And we encourage people to be thinking about that portion and asking the Lord to be generous to us in terms of additional clients, in terms of the effectiveness of our staff when dealing with clients, the effectiveness of when a decision is being made, that it's a favorable decision in terms of what would be pleasing to the Lord. So to be praying to that end is extremely helpful. Secondly, we need volunteers to do what we do. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities, whether that's answering a phone, whether that's helping with a mailing, whether that's a client advocate, whether that's working in the office space. There are a number of ways that people can help, and each of those are important considerations and important things that are necessary in order for us to do what we do. So if you have the time and you're looking for an opportunity, we would love for you to consider volunteering, and easy to connect with a staff person or to call our office, and we'd be happy to share how that can specifically come about. And then thirdly, the financial contributions for people who have resources that God has blessed them to be able to share those resources in a ministry that has a degree of effectiveness is very much necessary as well. We have seen repeatedly how God has been incredibly gracious to us to provide our financial needs, and that's an ongoing need that we have. But we trust that if this is the Lord's ministry, He will bring about all the things necessary from a volunteer perspective, from a prayer perspective, as well as the financial portion of what we're doing. So if you're looking for a way to help, this would be one of the ways, certainly, that we would very much appreciate that, and it will be used toward effective ministry and the kingdom of God. Hey, we just wanted to say thank you for spending the time to watch this video. And we hope that it's been informative. It's intended to be educational, to provide some levels of information. It's also sort of to inspire you, to give you some sense of what I can do next. How can I get involved? What are some things that you're doing that I not only resonate with, but want to be engaged in some sort of a way? But I appreciate you just taking the time to watch this, to see what we're doing. If you have more questions or you have any thing that you'd like us to dialogue or talk a little bit more, I'm happy to answer those questions. You call me during one of the website and just learn a little bit more about us. But we're just grateful for you and thankful and pray that this has been helpful in many ways. God bless you and have a great week.